Friends, today is a really beautiful day in many respects. There's, I suppose, a sweetness and a sorrow to it, because we're giving God thanks for a woman called Josephine Bakhita from Sudan, a lady who was kidnapped in 1877 by Arab slave traders. And as a child, she was forced to walk 600 miles to the nearest slave market. And she was bought and sold so many times and beaten with serious degrees of violence that she forgot her original name. Unbelievable. Imagine, folks, what it takes, the type of trauma it takes to forget your name. The inhumanity of slavery is unbelievable. And the woman eventually ended up in Italy, in Venice actually, where she became a nanny for a very wealthy family. And she began to began to grow in her love for God, because she used to ask questions about the stars and the moon, where did they come from, who made them, or what made them, etc. And the family answered all her questions of faith, to a point where she eventually began to discern a call to Jesus Christ. And she was baptized in January 1890. But when she was baptized, she also received her first Holy Communion and her confirmation, which was a very common thing during the early church. And she was eventually, folks, made her final vows of the Daughters of Charity in 1896 and spent 42 years of her life working as a cook and even a doorkeeper at the convent. And what was really amazing too, she traveled and visited so many other convents, telling the other sisters of her story of what happened to her and where she came from, preparing them for their work in Africa. But I was reading a couple of sources about her last night and this morning, and a lot of the sources often talk about she was very well known for her gentle voice. She had a very gentle voice, and she also had a beautiful smile, apparently. Two beautiful characteristics that are so saintly. Our world is in desperate need of both once again, I think. And it's amazing, folks, to think that she so often spoke about her enslavement. She said she would want to always thank her kidnappers. Bizarre in the modern world to hear someone talk like that. That if she had not been kidnapped, she wouldn't have come to know God, to know Christ. And she died in 1947 after the Second World War. And apparently her last words were, "Our Lady, Our Lady." That was her four last words, "Our Lady, Our Lady," giving some indication, folks, of just where her journey ended up. Extraordinary. And unfortunately, her canonization, the news of her canonization was censored in Sudan. But 9 months later, in 1992, John Paul II made a pastoral visit to Sudan, and he publicly honored her in front of everybody. And of course, he canonized her in the year 2000. Remarkable lady, folks. I know everyone, the like of the story of Saint Bakhita, her story brings to the fore just the institutional and social evils our world is so badly subjected to so often. I mean, there's over 40 million people at this moment in time in our world in some sort of slavery. 40 million people in 2022 in some sense of slavery. I mean, when you think about it, it's 40 million people, folks, who are shipped around like an Amazon package. Bizarre, but it's so extraordinary, those type of statistics. And of course, 71% of them, I reckon, is women and young girls. Around 10 million of such are subjected to sexual slavery. Unbelievable numbers when you think about it. Just what our society is allowing in many respects to take place under the cover of darkness and all sorts of covers. I mean, the list goes on. And they're the ones who know about it. And it's mind-boggling, folks, that such a massive amount of our brothers and sisters are used as objects for other people's gain, kidnapped or lured under false pretenses. Big business. In fact, they reckon it's worth about $150 billion alone, human trafficking and slavery. Unbelievable. And that's why, everybody, Pope Francis, he's often poking at these people. He's often poking at those who are making a profit on people's lives, the lack of dignity. You know, it's a cancer in our society, to say the least. I mean, human slavery and trafficking, it not only reduces the human being to a mere object commodity, but it completely strips away our human dignity, our worth and value. I mean, it's so inhumane, it's unbelievable. That's why, you know, I have a big problem when people, particularly my own age, they talk about humanity having evolved to a better understanding of society, or that we're far more progressive now than our grandparents' time. Absolute crap. It really is. And it's dangerous thinking. It's completely self-deluded, I think. There's no amount, folks, of politically correct education and censorship classes and consent classes, etc., are going to sort out the problems in here. It's in the human heart. Saint Josephine, she discovered God's love and she opened her life to God. And she, like every other saint, everybody, she discovered that the darkness in the human heart and the evils of society, they can't be sorted out without God. Pure and simple. They just can't. God's love, everybody. When we accept God into our life, like on Sunday Gospel, on Sunday, it's about the invasion of God's grace into our lives. God enhances, He uplifts, He transforms both our own self and how we look at ourselves and our own worth and dignity, but also how we view other people, our brothers and sisters around us, of their value, their worth, their God-given dignity, and how much they're loved by God. In the Gospel a few moments ago, Christ very clearly steps out, explains the basic necessity of treating each other with respect and value. Very basic. And He also explains what happens when we don't. Imagine, folks, Saint Josephine, she came to a point in her life where she said, if I was to meet the slave traders that abducted me and tortured me, I'd kneel down to kiss their hands, because if it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't become a Christian and religious woman, and that in God's will there's great peace. Remarkable lady. Saint Joseph Bakhita, pray for us.